Hi, my name is Lily Clayton Hanson. I'm an author, a journalist, and an actor based in Nashville, Tennessee. And today we're here filming at the beautiful Ryman Artist Lofts in downtown Nashville for the third episode of Nashville Conversations based on my regionally best-selling book, Word of Mouth Nashville Conversations. I'm super excited to be here today with my guest, Rebecca Lines. She is an actor and an acting instructor based here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I've actually feel very privileged because I've known her since around the time she got her start acting, and she has since progressed into starring in many, many big shows. And she's someone that many of us in the community look up to in that world. Thank you, Rebecca, so much for joining us today.
Lily, thank you for having me.
So prior to acting, and you have been on some pretty big shows, so we're going to get into that, but you were a real estate agent and a full-time mother.
Gosh, yeah.
I'm sure that feels like a million lifetimes
it does.
ago. But let's go back a little bit, rewind. And when did acting first cross your plate?
Well, not film and television, but as a kid, I always wanted to entertain. And so I would gather up my neighborhood friends and I would put together shows, or we would pretend that we were in a band and usually just doing like air guitars and so forth. And we would put these shows together for our parents and for like our siblings, and really that was it that would come to our show. But I always felt this sense to entertain. And, but when and then also did, community theater and high school theater and musicals and that kind of thing, but never thought that's what I wanted or should do for a living. So when I went to college, I got a business degree and then got myself into like the corporate world for a while there, and then had children. And it really wasn't until my move to Nashville in 2007.
And remind me why you moved here again.
At the time, I was married and my ex-husband had a career opportunity that brought us to Nashville.
Okay.
So,
had you ever been to Nashville before?
I'd been to Nashville before, one time, maybe twice. And it's nothing like it is now. It was so quiet back then. It was a smaller downtown, small Broadway scene.
It was like Shoney's, and that was about it, honestly. No James Beard Award winning restaurants. Yeah.
And so I had Nashville was nowhere near on my radar as an adult, as a wife, as a mother. I had no idea. And of all places, for me to find my way to being a television and film actor out of Nashville, nobody would have believed me 15, 20 years ago.
Who would have thunk? Yeah.
At all. But it happened because when I moved here, close to that time, maybe about a year later, the real estate market crashed and I didn't have my license in Tennessee. I was finishing up some listings I had up north where I moved from. And I just took a step back from it all. And I just asked myself, is this what I want to do? Do I want to get my license in Tennessee and become a realtor here? And I just said no.
There's enough of them anyway. I know a million ex-musicians that do real estate. Let them have at it.
They're so much better than me.
You're too dynamic,
much better.
Yes, to be hiding behind a house for sale.
Thank you, Lily. So I Googled acting in Nashville because I took a moment and said, what is it that I loved and what do I miss? And it was acting. It popped in my head loud and clear, and the voice of God or something. I don't know if it's quite that dramatic, but I Googled acting and I found this school down in Franklin that Alan Dysart owns, and it's called the Actor School. And I started there, and that man, who's just amazing, wonderful human being, introduced me to my first agent and got me on my first set as just an extra on a small short film. But as soon as I stepped on that set, it was magic to my heart. And I knew I was where I was supposed to be. Every fiber in my body lit up just being background on a film, which was like really lovely.
Today's episode is sponsored by Freeman Webb, a trusted leader in multifamily and commercial property management. From stylish apartments to smart commercial spaces, they manage it all with care and compassion, driven by a daily mission to provide exceptional service and build meaningful connections with everyone they encounter. Discover your next home or workspace at www.freemanwebb.com. So walk me through this, because I feel like acting is such an intimidating field to get into, right? I mean, it's like one of those where if you tell people like, I'm going to become a wealth manager, they're like, great. And if you tell someone you're going to become an actor, they're like, oh, like I'll automatically feel like sorry for you. So when did you feel comfortable enough to start auditioning? And I would love to know a little bit about like the communities you were in as far as studying goes and how that maybe like boosted your confidence a little bit.
No, it's a great question. I would say my situation is different than back then than it is today. So I'm a teacher. I'm an acting teacher at Nashville Acting Studio. I'm also an acting coach. I put people on tape for auditions, and then I coach people who have booked projects and want, someone to really dig into the character with them. So,
and you are very good at it, by the way. I have hired you to help me with auditions, and you have a way of like just making people feel really at ease with you.
I appreciate that. I think that probably comes because I am a fellow actor and I know what would feel good to me as far as like somebody working with me, and helping me see like things about the character maybe that I couldn't see, like that's important to me. But as far as auditioning goes, back then, it was such a small community. We didn't have the bustling Southeast film and television production that we've experienced over the last 7 years, I'd say. And so it was just small town. And, again, Alan got me my first agent, and then she just sent me out on auditions. I had just started taking classes. I didn't really know what I was doing technically, I'm sure, but I had such heart for it. And so I think that helped, and passion. And I'm sure I went on some auditions and shot myself in the foot, but because casting is so lovely here, and it was, again, a small town kind of feel, we all loved each other so much that they were forgiving and they would bring me back in for an audition. But now it's a whole different ball game, because the Southeast has grown so much in television and film production. We have actors moving in from New York and LA that want to live in this area because production has slowed down in LA and it has slowed down in New York. And so the competition is different. And we have shows that are on network. We have shows that are on major cable networks, on major streaming platforms. We have major opportunities. And with that, we have really big casting requirements and so forth. And so I tell my students, before you seek representation of an agent, please take a moment and make sure you're comfortable with your auditioning skills. Because when your agent signs you, they're going to be super excited about having you on their roster, and they'll want to put you out there to all the casting and, talk you up. And you get an audition for, say, Will Trent shooting on or airing on ABC. And that's a big deal, right? You have to be ready, because if you do your first audition and it's sent over to the casting and you're not ready, then casting says, oh, they're not ready.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I had that experience actually as a younger actor, and I got signed to a big agent right away. And I remember even though I had grown up acting and I felt very comfortable, getting into character and memorizing lines, like the actual process, auditioning on tape was a way different thing than I grew up doing, where you were auditioning in person.
In the room.
Yes, totally different. Yeah. So when did you first feel, I guess, at ease? Again, going on auditions, or you booked a pretty big, show. Really like a couple of years after you got into acting, which was House of Cards. You had just like a couple of lines on there, but still at the time, that was like one of the,
so proud.
That was like the biggest show on
2
TV.
or 3 lines.
Yes. I remember I watched it. I was like, I know her. She's awesome. So, just tell me, I guess, let's talk about some of your first roles, and when did you really feel like confident on set?
That's a really great question. I think with House of Cards, I felt incredibly lucky that when I got to that set in Baltimore, I had some friends here in Nashville that were friends with the head gaffer on the set. So they reached out to him and asked for him to kind of look out for me. And so he did. He came over and he talked to me and he was so kind. And then, because I was just about to work with Kevin Spacey, Academy Award winner Kevin Spacey at the time. He was like House of Cards. This was season 4 and it was a big deal. It was one of the first big Netflix shows and, all eyes were on this show. And so I was going to be working with him and Robin Wright, the 2 leads of the show. Mm-hmm. And so I was, intimidated. I was, but knowing that my friends
they're like psychopaths on that show. I can hardly watch it myself. I was like, God, yes, yeah. Scum of the earth.
Yes. And then when I went down to Crafty, I heard somebody shouting out my name and I heard this Rebecca, and I look around and then I see this guy that I had worked with on a set in Tennessee, like 2 or 3 years ago, on a indie film. And I hadn't seen him since. And so it was like this beautiful, I don't know, like grace of God, beautiful universe gift that when I got to this huge set, my first big television gig, that I had all this beauty coming at me, letting me know that it was okay and I was safe and it was like I was good.
I love that.
Makes sense?
Yeah. No, it's great. And I was going to say, but you also did something that really inspired me when I got back into acting. And again, it was an easy, natural thing for me to do because I obviously am a writer and have been for a long, long time.
Very good writer.
Oh, you're sweet. But you built your reel by writing a lot of your own scenes.
Oh, wow.
And so I'd love to talk about that because that's like a big thing that when people get into acting, they're like, okay, great. I have this desire. I want to do this. Like, how do I get experience?
Well, I would say my first reel was really a lot of student films and small indie projects. I believe that you can really hone your audition skills and your on-set behaviors and so forth on these student film sets and these smaller indie projects before you move up to the bigger, next step up, next level up. So I did have an opportunity with a fellow student when I was studying at Nashville Acting Studio, and he wanted to make his first reel, but he didn't have enough material. So an actor's reel is a huge marketing tool. We have our headshots, we have our resume, but we have to have a reel as well. I just did a couple of auditions recently and they specifically said, show us your reel. So it's an incredible tool. And it doesn't have to be more than a minute, but for some actors, they don't even have enough material for that, right? So what he did was he said, I'm going to write this. Would you be willing to be in it? And I said, of course, he was a great guy. So we shot it in my kitchen and the quality of it turned out so well that I ended up using the footage on I think it was my second reel. And I encourage my students to write their own. We're hearing it from casting. I remember being at the Cannes Film Festival and going to a casting director panel, and they all said, create your own work. If we're meant to see you, we will see it. It will come across our desk. Get your projects out there. Let us hear your voice. Let us see your talent by writing and creating and putting it out. And there's so many ways to get content out there these days, which is magical for actors.
Oh,
right?
It's like no other time. You could be like that Aquafina where all of a sudden, you go from like throwing crap up on YouTube and like then you're in like a $10 million like role, in a feature
literally
film.
Just watched her in Crazy Rich Asians. Yeah, literally did. I love her so much. She's so fearless. I just think she's great. But I think it's important the opportunities are there, but there are gatekeepers along the way, right? There's the writer, and it goes through the director producer, and that gets sent then over to casting and then over to our agent. And so there's gatekeepers along the way. And so maybe we'll get the audition. Maybe we won't get the audition. Who knows if we'll book it? But if you're creating your own content and putting it out there, really you're in the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? You're not waiting for something to come to you.
Well, that's a great segue into my next question, because I would love to talk about knowing your casting type. Because one thing that I found with, writing my own work was I was able to write roles for myself, like my award-winning short film Snowflake, which I'm very proud of, is up for a Telly Award right now.
It's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you, girlfriend. That I knew that I could knock out of the park, you know? And so love to talk about your experience working in casting, how that helped you, again, know your casting type, and how can you, learn what your casting type is while still being open so you're not like pigeonholing yourself.
Well, I did work in casting for a few years with a dear friend of mine who has an amazing casting company. And boy, did that teach me a lot. It teaches me or taught me how to own my audition, to not think about what it is that they want. What do they want for that character? And let me see if I can fit into that box. What I learned is when I bring myself and my vision of that character to my tape, or back in the day, the in-person auditions, I would come in with such confidence because I was confident about my own art. Might not be completely confident that I nailed what I think their idea is of something, but I can be confident about what I dream up and envision for a character.
Right. And own it.
Yeah. So, I learned quite a bit, so much more with casting, and I that we can go on a whole other tangent about that. But just being confident about what you bring to the table is the most important thing. Confidence is everything in casting. That's what I learned.
I love that.
So important.
Well, I remember you said something really interesting one time, which I thought this was cool because you had worked with me on my auditioning skills when I first started auditioning in front of the camera. And I remember the role you picked for me, essentially, where you said, I really love these kinds of roles. I like the roles where I can be like the crazy person or like the messy person or like, be disheveled on camera. And like, I'd love to know like why you like those kinds of roles. Like what is so fun about being like the mad woman?
Yeah, I think because when you've lived as long as I have, I have experienced some, not so fun parts of life, and where I've been really sad or really desperate or really upset or really angry. And all of those things live within me. As a human being, they are there as you as well. We have a whole plethora of emotions that are there for our experience as humans, right?
Oh, I can be the crazy girl like that.
And so in your normal everyday interactions and so forth, we keep those in check. But it does give you, when you get to play somebody who's a little messier, it gives you that freedom to dig into something that you don't normally do every day. But because I'm a big believer in studying the craft of acting and really being in class and all of that if you can't be on a set. But also, it's just being a human, having a life and living life. Because as actors, we are portraying humanity, right?
Yeah.
But we have to experience it.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not just going to find that in a class or on a set. We have to live life.
Go out and party, people. Go out and have some wild affairs.
100%. If you come to Nashville, you go down to Broadway and you will experience some humanity like you probably haven't experienced before.
Your parents might not be proud, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about how you prepare for a role. Because I know, have a very, at least I used to know this. Maybe your process has changed over time. I'm sure it certainly has. But you get into it. You do the background work, you do the character work. So let's talk a little bit about you book the role. What happens next?
Well, the first thing I do, if I haven't already read the script, I read the script. And I read the script as kind of like an observer, and I enjoy the reading of it just simply that. And then I read it again. And this time I read it as a detective in regards to my character.
Mhm.
So I'm picking up on clues about who I am based on what I say, what others say, and then, of course, what the writer writes in the stage direction. So I get all my clues. Next thing I do is I say, okay, how do I relate to this character? What do we have in common?
Mhm.
And if it is just simply that I'm a woman, she's a woman, and there's really not much else, well, then I've got to justify the things she says, the things she does, the things she thinks. And the only way for me to do that is to create an elaborate backstory. And I really will go all the way back to birth. I will go all the way back to the beginning. Like if my character is a serial killer, for instance, what was it like when I was born? Did I have a loving caretaker or two? Was I fed? Like all of that, all those things that, usually they say we're so very much formed by the age of 7. What was life like from birth until 7? I think that's incredibly important. Anyway, so I create an elaborate backstory. I really dig into like friends and school and siblings and, caretaker relationships, food, my favorite foods, my music, what I like to wear, all of that. And so I dig in and then I start justifying because I can't judge the character I'm playing.
Mhm.
And I start justifying all the things I say and do. And I have to really believe in it and get to this place where I come from the truth and from authenticity. And I can only do that if I've justified it and I believe. It's the only way that it will come across with any kind of believability for the audience. Because what we don't want is the audience to be going, wait, I'm so confused. Wait, is she thinking this? Or I want it to be so clear what is happening with me so that they can go on the ride through me. And I can only do that if I authentically believe.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm like, wow, all right.
You're like, yes.
I'm like, check out my notebook and like start taking notes. Like, honestly, it's like getting like schooled in an acting class, but 101. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because everybody has their different process. I would say for me, I don't put in every detail. I like kind of know the ones that are going to like trigger me. And that was something that like a coach had taught me like along the way. I remember it was my British acting coach. He'd say, we don't have time for all of that stuff. It's like whatever's going to get you there, go with it.
Well,
so I find it really interesting because everybody's got their thing. It's like some people need to have like the childhood stuff down. And then other people like myself, it's like, I need to know whatever's going to like stimulate me in that moment.
Well, I think that's wonderful that you do know. So what works for you is important, and what I'm saying is really the work, that amount of work is for a character that's a strong, either a lead or a strong supporting character.
Okay, thank you, because I felt so lazy when you were talking.
No.
I was like,
if you're just coming in for a day player co-star on a show or a day player on a film set and you have like 5 or less lines, no. What I tell my students and what I do is if I come in with a day player role, 5 or less, I would just really know my lines. And it's really just coming through me. I don't have to do much more than that. But what I can do is have a really strong moment before. Like what's happening to this character right before camera rolls and this scene starts? Is she's a nurse? Was she having a morning that was like hectic where she had to try and get the kids out the door and the dog was doing you know what I mean? Like, was it a hurried morning? And so now I'm feeling rushed the rest of my day, or did I just win some money and I've got an extra $100,000 and so life is good? I don't know. But there's different ways for me to like start off a scene in a place for my character that I don't have to go all the way back to infancy. That would be too much.
Does that make you feel better? Oh, yeah. I mean, 100%. I was like, I'm not going to know, like, one of my favorite food was a toddler if I'm just like, have 3 lines.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't.
Sister ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
What is it like going in on a TV show where, like, they got their thing going on, they've been acting on the show for, like, months and months and months, and then you're on there to say, like, 5 lines? Like, is that, like... I guess, how do you make that like comfortable for yourself? You know?
Well, I first go in with great respect for all of the actors and crew and so forth who have been on the show for all these weeks or months. And I don't try to make it about me. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I'm there to do my job, to play this character. And I'm going to, again, not make it about me. I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to observe. And I'm going to be as pleasant as I can with everyone I interact with. And when it's time for me to be on set, I'm going to be ready and I'm going to flow. I have been on multiple sets. I'll bring up Falcon and Winter Soldier. So a Marvel show on Disney Plus. And I worked with Sebastian Stan, who's like one of the biggest Marvel actors out there, right?
Oh, I love him. I mean, he's great. Dude. He killed it as Trump.
Oh my God, right?
Yes.
And such a nice guy, like such a nice guy. So, but, I come to the set and he's already talking to our director and they're talking about things and he's like trying to figure out, do we want it to start this way? And so I knew right away we were going to have some improv moments, which I'm totally fine with. And indeed we did. And we, improv'd a lot at the top of the scene and then kind of found our way to the dialogue that was already written. But, I am going to take my cue from whoever I'm working with in the scene, who is a series regular or way higher on the call sheet than I am. I'm going to take my clues from them and cues and just fit in and be as professional as I can and as easy to work with as possible. But, I really think I can't make it about me. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, I didn't think you were like a diva, like putting in special pizza requests or anything like that, like.
I'll never forget, like I think it was House of Cards. I think it was. I don't know if that was because I had done other sets before, but I think this was when she came, the PA is so sweet. Base camp PA came over to my trailer and she said, what can I get you for breakfast? I just like, oh my God, I feel bad. I don't want to
hot water with a lunch.
I don't know. I don't know what to ask for. She goes, I said, I honestly don't know what you have. She goes, we have everything. And I was like, oh my God. So then I felt bad about putting in an order. And what I've come to learn is that they want you to stay in your trailer. They want to bring the things to you because that makes it a way more efficient. Like just, the more sets you're on, the more you learn like how it really works. Mm-hmm. And so she was doing her job and it wasn't like that I was some fabulous actor that somebody was asking me what I want. It was like, this is what we do and we do this so you don't leave your trailer and we know where you are at all times and that kind of, and I was like, perfect. But I was very grateful for my breakfast. I will say that.
Yeah, girl, or pass out on them or something. Need those calories to keep you going. So, let's talk about being on bigger sets. Cause it's like, what I kept thinking about is, so you've been on, Cobra Kai, which was huge at the time, Falcon Winter Soldier. You've been on some major sets. So how do you like cool your jets when you're on those big productions? I guess I imagine it's like total craziness. And then also like the stakes are high.
Stakes are high.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai, stakes were high for me. That was,
you always hear about all the rewrites too. Oh. Like, my God. Like, you hear about like them like rewriting stuff like seconds before you start to start to shoot.
Well, I will say with Cobra Kai, that was probably one of the most challenging days I've had on set. Only because, I was prepared and I was really ready to play this Candace. Candace was such a golden heart. Not. She was a horrible heart. But I was challenged because the directors, also the creators of the show, of the three, there were two of them there that day, and they kept coming up to me in between every take. Okay, now we want you to not say this and say this. And I'd be like, okay. Got it. Okay. Come over in the next take. Okay, great. Right now go back to this, but we're going to throw in this. Okay. And this was over and over and over for hours. Mm-hmm. And I had to know my character well enough to be able to make these very quick last kind of minute changes.
Yes.
Because I knew my character and I could justify the changes that they were making so that I could then come from truth. Mm-hmm. So if somebody just tells me to say something and they don't, I haven't had the opportunity to like justify it. I'm just saying something and you're not going to feel it. The audience isn't going to feel it. I'm not going to feel it. And nobody is.
Sure.
So I just need like, so I that whole day was just me quickly computing and
assimilating. Yeah.
And by the time that shoot was done, I was exhausted. My brain was like done, but my heart was so happy and so filled with joy because it was such an incredible actor as a workout. Like it was challenging, but fantastic. And I was like, oh my God, I made it. I did it. I got through it. And, and they didn't cut the scene. So
I love that. And you beat me to the punchline for my next question, which is, what role made you feel like you could, accomplish anyone? Sounds like that was it.
That was a great one. And the other one where I had 6 weeks on set for a film called Double Down South. And we shot that in 22, written and directed by Tom Schulman, who wrote Dead Poets Society. Mm-hmm. And so he had written.
Love that movie.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the greatest films, right? And the script, he won the Academy Award for that script. Mm-hmm. He is a Nashville native, born and raised here, went to school at MBA. And so Dead Poets Society was based on an experience from NBA.
No, wait, let's go find him. Have a drink with us. Come on, we're fun.
I know he's in LA.
Oh, no. Come back.
But I love him so much. But he wrote Double Down South as another experience he had in the South of the kind of crazy underground gambling pool game called Keno. Mm-hmm. And I had never heard of it before. And he used to go to this kind of rundown shack of a pool hall outside of Nashville where there would be all this gambling and crazy stuff happening. And he would go there as a teen. And there was a woman there who would just play pool with all these men and just hold her own amongst them all. And he really wanted to write a story influenced by that. And so he did. And so we filmed it in 2022 in just south of Atlanta. And Kim Coates, who was on Sons of Anarchy and so much more. He's done Broadway. He's done everything. He was the lead on this film, and I got to be on set the entire run of the film. So I was with everybody for 6 weeks. And we did have multiple changes and revisions and so forth to the script. And we would get pages sometimes the night before. And you just, you're there for a job, right? Mm. You want to have fun, of course, but I am there to work. So I've got to take it seriously. And so if I get last minute adjustments, again, kind of like Cobra Kai, if I am well grounded in who my character is, new pages coming at me with new lines, I can make sense of it and it will stick. Mm-hmm. It sticks easier when I know and really understand the character.
Do I think it's just being open to it sometimes too, or just like having that sense of belief, I can do this, it's you've been given this obstacle and it's like, I have to do this. I remember I read like a really interesting interview with an actor and they had learned a specific skill for a role. And the person said, well, how did you learn how to do that in 6 weeks? And they said, because I had to. Yeah, it's like if you're a kid, it's like you have to go to class and like learn addition and subtraction. It's like, it's kind of the same sort of mindset.
Well, sometimes on my like Instagram feed, there will be this guy who comes through that says, sign up for this course and we'll teach you how to memorize your lines. And for me, I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Like what I do is it's just repetition. Mm-hmm. Like over and over and over and over, I say those lines, but I don't do any of that work until I've done the other work that I talked about earlier, where I've broken down the script. I've decided who this character is and why she acts the way she does and who she is and what she wants and what's her growth over what's her arc during the course of the film. And I do before I ever start memorizing. So, because then once I get what's happening in each scene and I get who I am, the lines make sense to me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that's like a lot of like actors, like you'd see that where it's like they can't memorize it because they don't really know like what they're saying. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, especially if you're like in a medical procedural, like if you have to like say things that are so foreign.
I did an audition once like for Chicago PD and I had to like look up like every single like, or no, Chicago Med, duh, of course. But yeah, look up like every single word because it was all like, complicated medical jargon. Then I'm like, is that like a pill or an instrument? And so, yeah, who knows? Yeah.
And thank God for things on Google, like not Google Translate, but just pronunciations. Who like, if you find a word on a script and you're like, especially like a medical term, you have like no idea how to pronounce it, and you want to have to do it right.
Totally.
So yeah, there are tools out there. I do have an app that I use all the time that helps me with my lines. If I don't have somebody reading opposite me, like a real life person, I use my app.
That's interesting. I was like learning how actors memorize their lines because even people that I have conversations with in real life, that's like the number one thing they say. They're like, well, I've always wanted to be an actor. I could do it. They're like, all those lines, And it's like, yeah, I guess because you don't really have to like memorize stuff in real life, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. But I would imagine it's like anything. I mean, like it is for me, as if you're just doing it all the time, it just comes more naturally.
Yeah, I feel like we strengthen that muscle, that memory muscle.
Yes. Totally.
I think there is such a thing. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your recent transition into teaching. Because I mean, you are teaching at your alma mater, the Nashville Acting Studio, and you studied there for many, many years. And I know that you're someone that, there's a lot of teachers, whether it's with acting or it's, with painting or whatever it is that, don't enjoy it. You seem to really enjoy teaching and really love working with your students. So I'd love to know just, what the experience has been like for you and how it nourishes you in a different way.
Oh, thank you. I think that's a lovely question. Well, I was actually on the set of Double Down South when Caroline LaCorriere, who owns Nashville Acting Studio, reached out to me, and I had studied with her for 7 years, kind of off and on, but mostly on. And she was such a huge influence on my craft, just say the least. And so she reached out to me and I was on set, and I think I was in week 3 or 4. And she said, hey, would you be interested in teaching? I've got this class and I'm going to start this other class. And I said, Caroline, I'm on set and I won't be back for a few weeks. And at that time, I was auditioning a lot and working more. Now that the business is kind of at a lower level right now, but I said, and so she convinced me, and I agreed to teach 2 classes a week, and now I teach 3. And I said yes because I had done some substitute teaching for she and also another teacher, Lindsay, at the studio. And I enjoyed it. And it was just fun to be with other actors and share what I've learned. And so really that is my approach. All I'm doing is sharing what I've learned, either from Caroline or from just my experience with all my auditions and being on all the sets I've been on. It's just me sharing that and guiding them in the principles that Caroline taught me that were so instrumental to my craft. And quite honestly, it's a real honor to witness someone else's art in process, and a real honor. It sounds so sappy. I know it does, but a real honor to be a part of their craft and their growing of their craft. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a big deal. Like it's special. Somebody opening their heart and showing who they are as an actor and being vulnerable. I don't take that lightly. Like that.
I love that. I wish I would have had you as a teacher. I had like all these art teachers that were like, I'd really rather be doing other things. Wow, thanks a lot, like great. I just like bared my soul to you. And it's like, showed you my like brand new photograph or painting or like a monologue. And it's like, told me you'd rather be like at home doing your own thing. So I know it's so wonderful though that you have like such like respect for your students and I mean, how they're showing up in, a way that they obviously feel comfortable, bearing their souls in front of you.
Well, I hope so. I will say I have a reputation as being tough. Go figure. But I'm very much a stickler with preparation for class.
Mhm.
I do believe you have to do the work. And if you come in and you haven't done the work, you're not only shortchanging your own self and your craft, but you're shortchanging your scene partner. And that's not fair. And so I think you have to come to class prepared. And I mean, you're paying for it every month. So, you don't want to just throw your money away, do the work. And if it doesn't work for you, if life is too busy, then you know what, take a break and come back when you can. But I am never going to say, oh, it's okay, you didn't read the script, because it's not okay.
Mm-hmm. Don't be dicking around. People know your lines. Rebecca Lines is going to come after you, pun intended.
Know your lines, baby. Here's the thing. I've heard this recently, and I don't know why I hadn't heard it before, but Francis Ford Coppola says, know your lines so well that when you get to set, you can forget them.
Yes, I love that. Or like a bomb could go off and you keep going.
Yes,
totally.
And then I also love what Matthew McConaughey says in his book, Green Lights. Do all the work so that when you come to set, you can throw it away and just play. And I treat class the same as set.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're coming there to play, but you got to do the work in order to play.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. What's been the number one thing that you have learned from the last 10 or so years that you've been a professional actor? What's been like the number one, like, I guess, way in which you've like grown as like a person from all this experience?
I think the number one thing is to believe in my own art and my talent. That's the number one thing. If I don't believe in it, nobody else will.
Mm.
So like I said before, I used to think, what is it that they want? And I'm going to try and give that to them. And now I just believe in my own art, and it either works or it doesn't. I don't take the no's anymore as hard as I did when I first started, because this is a business where we do receive more no's than yeses. And I just let them roll off my back now. But I think that's the number one thing. And then number two is do the work. And the work is joy. I never find time spent creating a character. I never find it to be, I say work, but it doesn't feel like work.
Even when you're auditioning like a million times, like, do you ever get like sick of it?
No, I love auditioning. I've gotten to that point. Again, like I've been doing this a while. I've got at least my 10,000 hours in and then some. I'm not saying I'm the most consummate professional, but I do now at this point know what I'm doing, and I know what I can bring to the table. And it's either going to work or it's not. Mm-hmm. And that's okay, because guess what? There will always be another audition. Mm-hmm. There will always be another project. And I believe that what I'm doing is what I'm meant to be doing until there is a big, big, loud shout, stop it, Rebecca, stop. I'll just keep moving through it. And, so I'm acting. I just worked with one of my acting heroes. A couple months ago, I got to work with Dustin Hoffman. He's 2-time Academy Award winning actor. And it was probably one of the best days I've ever had on set, ever. He was so generous, so lovely, such a fantastic human.
Amazing, because you hear terrible stuff about him. I mean, like when you
did not experience that.
Oh, I love that, because he's one of my favorite actors of all time. When they used to slam him, he used to break my heart.
I know. In fact, this is so damn funny. Oops. We can beep that out, I hope. I had been told, watch out. He's, not so much physically frisky, but he can be along that way. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, well, you know what? He's so darn cute. I can't wait to see what he brings. And he was feisty. He was fun. And he was telling us life stories that were just hilarious. And some of them were a little more risque. But you know what? It's Dustin Hoffman telling us the funniest stories. I mean, and they weren't offensive. I couldn't understand why people had been saying these things to me. He was a dream to work with. And again, this woman based here in Nashville, the people I get to work with, I've worked with so many Academy Award winners now. Just this woman, me, based here in Nashville.
That's so cool.
I mean, if I can do it, hey, really, anybody can. I'm just saying, I'm a big believer in us really paying attention to what we hear in our heart. right? The callings that we have in our heart are specific for us, specific for you. I'm not getting the same callings you are. I've not been called to write books, right? Or to do TED Talks. So not only do you do that, but you have a calling for acting and your art. And you know what I mean? Like, it's specific to you. And if you didn't pay any attention to that and you became a lawyer, I still think these things would be calling out to you. And I would hope that you would find a way to incorporate it into your life. And so I hope that I understand people have to pay bills and all of that. I get that. And they need that kind of job. But I hope if they have some kind of calling in their heart that really speaks to them, really sounds like something joyful to do, I hope they take action on it. Look at me. I took action on it. All I did was Google acting in Nashville back in 2008 or 9. And now I just worked with Dustin Hoffman from Googling acting.
From Googling acting to working with Dustin Hoffman. My God, like that'll be like our tagline, honestly. I just have one last question for you. You've been so fabulous. And I know you are a deeply self-aware, spiritual, really, you're like a full-bodied human being. Like to me, you're very
beautiful compliment.
Yeah, of course. So what do you do to stay connected to yourself? Because I feel like, we had this conversation before the camera started rolling. There's a lot of actors that I feel like use acting to like run away from themselves, but you're all about like really using it to get to know yourself better. So I mean, what do you do outside of acting to like, I guess, stay connected to you?
Stay connected to me? Yeah. Well, I definitely journal every day. I probably spend way too much time journaling every day. But it's so cathartic to me. I just kind of write down whatever I'm thinking, whatever I experienced, what I have coming up, or what I just went through recently. Like, journaling is such a best friend of mine. And in writing it all out, it helps me just to oddly feel heard. Does that make sense? Just by a journal. I do believe in being heard by, another fellow human being, but it's a lovely way for me just to kind of touch base with myself. We can move through life so quickly and, not really pay attention to what we're going through and not take the time to process any hurts or, questions or what, things like that, where we think, oh, I'll put that away for now because I've got to do this. And if we don't take at least a little bit of time each day or at some point during the week, I really think we are going to run ourselves into a direction that eventually we're going to crash and burn because we have lost sight of who we are. So listening to your heart, touching base with yourself every day, whether that's meditation or journaling. I walk, and in my walking, I do a lot of soul searching and listening to great podcasts. And I really enjoy that time. But I think we have to have time for ourselves somewhere. And I know, like, if you have a family and children and a job, and it's hard to have that time to yourself. But I hope even if it's just 5-10 minutes, everyone can find just a little bit of time to touch base with, who they are.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you.
You are a delight. And I sincerely could not be happier for your success. You are like truly someone that like,
thank you, sweetie. Thank you.
Like, go girl, like get it.
Yeah. I'm happy for you and I'm happy for this show. And I can't wait for all the other conversations we're going to have. And I feel so honored to be here having a conversation with you.
Thank you.
And I just know great things are coming your way. You're too talented for that not to be the case.
Well, they're going to be good. So get on the couch. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Bye.